Hey everyone, welcome back to the Craft Parenting Podcast, the podcast about two Cincinnati craft beer lovers with a hangover, parenting problem, both.
It's good that we didn't have the kids the next morning after that party. It was fun.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, we recently celebrated 100 episodes.
With a bunch of friends who also like beer and drank a lot of beer.
And we had a good old-fashioned bottle share, and we had beers. But my name is Joe Ludwig, and with me is my lovely wife and co-host, Caroline.
Hey. Oh, wait. Hey, let's keep the noises down and not get too loud. And then the kids run through screaming their heads off.
Well, they better not be because they're sleeping.
Yeah.
But we wanted to give a shout out to those guests. I can't thank them enough for coming on the show and supporting us through all 100 episodes.
And derailing our 100th episode multiple times, but it's what we do.
It was a fun episode.
It was so much fun.
So a shout out to the Gnarly Gnome Cincy Brewcast, Marco and Julia of Truth Beer Pod, and of course Tony and producer David, aka Dippa Josh.
Yep.
So shout out to all of our guests on the mic and all of our previous guests who couldn't be at the party. Brian and Graham and Brock and Stephen and Hillary and Mac. Yeah, we appreciate everyone's support in this listenership. But this is a podcast about two parents who like to drink beer. So sometimes we talk about parenting things, and sometimes we talk about beer things.
And sometimes we talk about non-alcoholic beer because we're not yet ready to drink actual beer. And this is still pretty. This is cutting it pretty close.
So yeah, tonight we are venturing into non-alcoholic beers because we thought it was appropriate. It was an appropriate follow-up.
Yep. And I found a mixed 12-pack of Untitled Art, which made it a lot easier than having to buy a bunch of random 6-packs.
And I said some not so nice things about non-alcoholic beers a few episodes ago.
Did you now? I don't remember that.
I got some flack. So we decided to just dive in and try it because I was recording with Julia and Marco at Higher Gravity, and I had a Guinness non-alcoholic, and it was pretty decent. You could tell that it was not a Guinness, but it was pretty good actually. So that kind of changed my mind, but we're going to get a bigger sample size. So I believe for those who need a refresher or for those who haven't listened, we did a whole series about Higher Gravity's beer vent calendar. And beer vent is the craft beer version of the Advent calendar, the little chocolates that you get each day of Advent during Christmas as a kid or an adult. You go downstairs, you get a little chocolate to celebrate each day of Advent. But the beer vent is very similar, but you get a craft beer. So we celebrated Beer Vent for the first time this year.
And I can't wait to do it again next year.
It was fun, but I believe, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I believe on the day of Festivus.
Yes, the airing of grievances. Joe had lots of grievances to air.
Where you air your grievances. Higher Gravity gave to us a non-alcoholic Untitled Art. I think it was a Mexican.
Yeah, it was a Mexican
lager.
Something. Probably a Mexican lager. Most NA beers are lagers, but there are some ales. So
it was a Mexican style lager.
You had feelings. Listen to that episode to find out all about Joe's feelings.
Yeah, so it was a miss for that one and a hit like for Guinness. Like if I saw a Guinness non-alcoholic, I mean, I might drink it. I might buy it. I might drink it. We have 4 beers from Untitled Art, and we are going to talk about them.
Hello, this is Morgan Freeman, and you are listening to the Craft Parenting Podcast with Joe and Caroline. Stay tuned for more.
Hey everyone, Joe Ludwig here with the one and only Caroline.
Hey!
Before we get to the main topic of today's episode, we wanted to pause briefly and tell you about how you can support the show.
So if you enjoy listening to the podcast and reading our blog posts every week, then you now have the opportunity to support the show through Buy Me a Coffee. Here's what you need to know. It's super easy to do. You don't have to set up an account to contribute. You have options. Send us a one-time donation or sign up as a member to contribute on a monthly or yearly basis. Plus, you can unlock exclusive content.
To learn more about how you can support the Craft Parenting Podcast through Buy Me a Coffee, click the link in the show notes. And now, back to the show.
So, beer number 1
is a non-alcoholic American Gold. It is 0.5% ABV or less. Untitled Art Non-Alcoholic American Gold utilizes the mild floral hops of our German brewing heritage and brings them into the 21st century, courtesy of state-of-the-art filtering technology, to craft a smooth and crisp, non-alcoholic rendition of the world's most consumed style that's perfect for pairing with spicy food, backyard barbecues, or a regret-free, thirst-quenching reward after a hard workout or day in the yard. Crack a can, hoist a glass, and salute this bracing, booze-free brew. I mean, I get a lot of wheat on the nose. I don't get a ton of it when I taste it. But, like, it doesn't taste bad. Like, it's just like a really light wheat.
To me, this tastes like a Bud Light or a Miller Lite or something like that.
I wonder what would happen if we tried to give one of these to your mom. Oh, we should try that.
I think she would notice. I mean,
you can't give it to her from the can. Like, you have to pour it into a glass and say, here, try this thing.
there is something off, but to the untrained palate, like if you were to give it to my mom, I don't think she would notice, at least not right away.
Yeah. And like this doesn't have a canned on date, but it says it's best by 7/8/24. So it's good for a little over a year.
This isn't bad.
Mm-mm.
It looks exactly like it's like a beer. I mean, it's straw colored.
Mm-hmm.
Has a decent amount of head on it. Very clear, see-through. It's very bubbly. Wow, this is well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe, and that's coming from me. Like I said,
Yeah.
We're gonna see if we can change some minds on
Yeah.
this episode.
Because when I bought this mixed 12-pack, I was like, there is a possibility that I will be drinking 8 of these beers or finding homes for 8 of these beers because we're going to record the podcast episode and then Joe's never going to want to drink one again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the rest of them go.
We're going to have to see if this episode goes faster than our other beer episodes because I already finished mine. So what did we just crack open?
We just cracked open an Italian-style pills. It's, again, Untitled Art. We need to say the artist's name.
Oh, yeah. So the artist for the American Gold was Stephanie Heyman, and she is a mixed media artist.
Wait, where does it say that?
On the website. That was for the American Gold. So the non-alcoholic Italian-style pills Italian Pilsners have gained a lot of popularity as of late, being a hoppier version of the standard Pilsner. We made this non-alcoholic version with Hallertau, Mittelfrau, and Strata hops, all the great flavor of an Italian Pilsner minus the alcohol. The artist for this one is Noel Miller, who's an abstract painter who lives and works in Fort Collins, Colorado. She's near Dude Dad.
I can't really describe these cans. They're just...
This is a very heady beer. I mean, it's definitely like abstract art for all of them. But it's fun. American Gold is like red, blue, gold, and white or gray.
Yeah.
And kind of like waves, abstract blob kind of things.
Italian Pills is like vertical lines, blocks,
Yeah, it's like a bunch of rectangles
rectangles,
with some swirls in it.
green, red, gray. All right, so let's try this. I don't think I've had a quote Italian Pills, like a normal Italian Pills.
I'm not sure I have either. This one has a very floofy head. Like it's got like a good half inch of head on it.
Yeah. It's probably because I poured it poorly.
Yeah.
But let's
Tastes
see.
about the same.
It's about the same in color. It's a little darker.
It's a little bit more hazy. Like it's because it's not as clear,
It's not as clear.
but it's still pretty clear.
Big fluffy head. White head.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
smell it, you immediately get the hops.
Yeah.
Like it's just a hop bomb. I wonder how it tastes.
Doesn't taste super happy.
On the back end.
You know, on the back end you can get it, and it's like got a little bit of a drying finish, which I would chalk up to the hops.
Yeah. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that. This is creepy. So in the age of AI, when you don't know what's true and what's not true, Untitled Art just created their own version of altering reality.
Yeah. Now you
Right.
gotta be careful. There are some Untitled Art beers that are like 13%. So if you're looking for a non-alcoholic one, make sure you're picking up the right Untitled Art beer.
Yeah, how do you distinguish? Like, because all
These have non-alcoholic on the can, but still, like my favorite stories are the ones about like Grandpa is like, you need to try this energy drink because it's awesome, and it's White Claw. He's like, don't drink alcohol. Alcohol is bad for you. I have 2 of these every morning, and it's great. Okay, Grandpa.
Oh my God. Can't even imagine.
Well, and the thing is, like, it says alcohol, like, all over it. But it does kind of look like a monster if you don't know what energy drinks look like. But so, how this drink came to be, they started off in medieval Europe, where they served as a less risky alternative to water, because water was gross back then, because they didn't know what they were doing. But they knew if they treated it like beer, that would take a lot of that yucky stuff out. And it was a lot less expensive than the full strength brews at festivals. So it was much safer to drink the near beer than the water. But then the temperance movement came along. And so during Prohibition and before Prohibition, a lot of breweries made near beers because it was add an additional step to your brewing process and you can get all of the alcohol out. You basically distill your beer, but you just take all the distilled stuff and you dump it down the drain, and then whatever is left in your tank is your near beer because the alcohol boils off.
So, quote, near beer, non-alcoholic beer, was legal in the 20s in America?
Yeah. So initially the ABV limit was 2.75%, but then when they passed the Volstead Act, they limited it to 0.5%, which is ridiculously low. And they called them tonics instead of beers. And then in 1933, when Prohibition was repealed, quote, breweries simply omitted this extra step. I don't know how many breweries were actually doing that extra step or just claiming that they were and hoping that the tax man wouldn't find out.
For real.
Mm-hmm. And then in the 1980s and the 1990s, there were lots of concerns of alcoholism, which is where our, quote, light beer movement came in. And then this says in the 2010s, breweries have focused on marketing low alcohol beers to counter the popularity of homebrew. I don't think that's the case, but you do you, Wikipedia.
So they brewed low alcoholic beers to counteract homebrew beers?
It makes no sense. Maybe Wikipedia's like hoping that you like infer that that's to get like Bud Light drinkers. I don't know. Like we haven't homebrewed in a hot second, but even when we were homebrewing, we were not homebrewing enough to keep up with our own consumption. We'd have to brew a lot to keep up with our own consumption. Also, we like variety. So, yeah, we'd have to homebrew a lot. And we ain't got time for that.
It takes a while.
Mm-hmm. So then alcohol-free bars and pubs have been established to cater to drinkers who don't want to have alcohol. And apparently Brewdog has a London bar, which opened up in early 2020 that is non-alcoholic.
So, expand on that. These non-alcoholic places,
Mm-hmm.
pubs, bars, they only sell non-alcoholic beer? Like, there's that many varieties of non-alcoholic beer?
I don't know. You can Google Brewdog's London bar and see if it's still non-alcoholic or not.
Well, I just don't understand. Like, if you go to a bar, you can get pop usually.
Mm-hmm.
You can get water.
I know there are some people that say that it's good if you're trying to like get out of alcoholism, as like a kind of transition into other things. I don't know how legit that is though, because there's other people that are like, well, that's just like gateway back to relapsing. If you have people that like want to go hang out, but then they feel weird because all I'm doing is drinking water.
No, they don't have to drink water. They can drink. There are mocktails. There are.
I got so many mocktails when I was pregnant.
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, there's so many non-alcoholic beers that they can just exclusively sell them at bars. So, I mean, they exist at breweries even. I mean, breweries are starting to make their own, and they're starting to stock them.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why there has to be an exclusive place that just sells non-alcoholic beers.
Well, there are some people that are in like different stages of relationships with alcohol where if they are somewhere where they could get something that is actually alcoholic, that would be very bad for them. So, but I mean,
this has alcohol in it.
It does.
I don't think an alcoholic should drink this.
Probably not. But in 2011, UK passed a lower tax rate for low strength beer that has 2.8% or less. So a lot of breweries started making small beers again so that they could have that lower price point available to their patrons.
2.8. Holy moly. Mm-hmm. That's a very specific number.
I want to say the States was 3.2 beer, right?
3.2 beer.
Mm-hmm. Like our parents could get 3.2 beer when they were kids.
But what percent is that?
3.2%.
So 3.2%.
Yeah.
Not 0.28%. Wait, so say that again? The UK is past a...
Their low strength beer is 2.8% or less.
I thought you said 0.28.
No.
Because this is 0.5.
0.8.
Okay.
Our parents drank 3.2 beer, 3.2%.
Okay, I understand that. I thought you said 0.28.
No.
Like as in less
I have
than...
not been drinking alcohol, so you cannot blame me for this one. That was just your ears not working.
All right. Italian Pilsner. Like, wow, that is...
I mean, these are both pretty decent. Like, I would enjoy these by a fire over the summer. And like...
I don't know about that. But crack it open, you know, after you mow the lawn.
Yeah, or like
Maybe.
throw this in the middle of, hey, I'm going to be drinking for the next like 12 hours because we have like 30 things going on, or sports day or whatever. Throw one of these in the mix in the middle of it to make sure that...
Or have it close out your night.
Yeah.
Well, you should close out your night with water, but...
You should definitely be drinking water the whole time, no matter what.
But maybe it's your last beer, and then you go to water.
Yeah. So alcohol-free beer has seen a rise in the Middle East because the Islamic scholars issued fatwa, which permitted the consumption of beer as long as large quantities can be consumed without getting drunk. And in the United States, there is now a craft hop water IPAs, or H2OPs, which is a market in and of itself.
Yeah.
So, like, there's all these different ways you can get this stuff. So what is...
I don't think that's the same thing as non-alcoholic beer, though.
No.
That's like sparkling water with hops in it, I think.
I'm not sure. I haven't had it. Our next beer is the non-alcoholic Juicy IPA. Whether you're cutting consumption or just want some hoppy goodness without the alcohol, we've created a non-alcoholic version of our mainstay Juicy IPA. We brew our full-strength Juicy IPA with Citra and Mosaic hops and ferment out as normal. From there, we run the finished beer through a reverse osmosis system that filters out alcohol through high pressure and extremely fine membranes. What does this mean for you? All the hops, all the juicy flavors, and none of the alcohol. The artist for this one is Stephanie Pearl Heyman, who is also the one that did the American Gold can. Yeah, she does lots of abstract stuff. This one looks like a bunch of different colored brush strokes that are like shades of oranges and pinks with a little bit of green mixed in. And it's pretty fun. This beer also has a very floofy head, or just Joe keeps pouring beers upside down.
Hey, a big fluffy head, white, it's hazy.
I mean, it is a juicy IPA.
Now, I don't normally drink juicy IPAs. It's not my thing.
If I get an IPA, it's usually a juicy IPA.
Those are the ones that taste like juice, right? Is that the one that Westside has? Boots with the fur?
I'm not sure. You can Google it because I'm currently using all of my...
I'm not Googling it. I'm just asking you a question.
I don't remember. It probably is. Because it's got apricot peach fruits with the fur. I'd be curious to see what their juicy IPA tastes like. I'm sure you can taste the difference because with my beer tasting class in college, that was a legit class for college credit, was not just me drinking in random bars.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people's beer tasting class in colleges. He had us drink non-alcoholic beer, but like there were like only like 4 different flavors of non-alcoholic beer available at the time.
It was O'Doul's, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was O'Doul's. And then he had us drink a Bud Light. So he was like, you can tell how much of a difference the alcohol makes in the taste.
Think of how far we've come with O'Doul's being like the leading NA beer.
It was the leading NA beer because it was the only one.
I don't know if it was the only
Or at least
one.
the only mass market one.
It was available. I haven't seen an O'Doul's in a while. I used to sell one here and there when I was a waiter
Mm-hmm.
at the Roses. I was like, why would you
Why would you torture yourself?
do this? Yeah. Especially since that stock did not rotate.
Yeah. This is not torture.
Yeah, so just think of when I compare to an O'Doul's and then I compare to what I had in December and then the selection that we've had so far today
Mm-hmm.
and plus the Guinness. I mean, there's clearly a spectrum of NA beers, and it seems like with new technology and new innovations, they're getting better.
Yeah, because now instead of basically reverse distilling, they have filters that you can use. Excuse me. So it's a slightly easier process. You don't have to heat the beer up as much, which makes you lose more of the flavor.
But as far as the tastes go, I don't really get a lot of juicy.
I don't get a lot of super lot of juicy either, which is why I'd be curious to see what this tastes like against their normal juicy IPA. Like, it is more of a juicy IPA than any of the beers we've had so far, and like than the West Coast IPAs that we had a few weeks ago. But it's not like a juice bomb. But they're not all going to be juice bombs.
What do you mean they're not all going to be juice bombs?
Like, everything's a spectrum. So like some juicy IPAs are more juicy than others.
I don't get any juice. I get dryness and kind of bready, grainy.
I definitely get some grainy on the nose.
No, tight taste.
I mean, I get a little bit of juicy, but not like a lot.
I definitely can taste the hops.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely hoppy.
Yeah, it's definitely more hoppy than the other two beers so far.
It's not bad though.
No.
Like, it's not like I considered, getting a dump bucket because, we're drinking 4 beers. I mean, it's still filling and stuff, even though it doesn't have alcohol in it.
Yeah. I mean, technically they usually have fewer calories because there's not alcohol. Like, all of your
It's still bubbly.
hard seltzers have a minimum of 100 calories because they're 5% alcohol, and 5% alcohol means it has 100 calories.
Is that what that means?
Yeah. It's like, they said, they explained it on an episode of Shift Beers once, but I don't know which episode it was. You can listen to all of the Shift Beers back catalog, and eventually they'll get to it. Because they said, like, there's some seltzer companies that claim that they only have like 400 calories or something like that. And they're like, you're either not 5% or you're not 400 calories. You're lying about one of those things. And it better not be the alcohol because you'll get in more trouble. Or something along those lines.
Lie about the calories. You'll get in trouble too.
Yeah. So.
Don't lie.
Yeah, don't lie. Especially when it comes to alcohol. But yeah, so with non-alcoholic beers, people usually complain that like it's more sweet or it doesn't have as much flavor to it. It takes more time because there's another step that you have to throw into your brewing process to get the alcohol that you put into it out of it. But like you also have to be careful because apparently in Pennsylvania, you can't sell non-alcoholic brews to a person under the age of 21.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's 0.5% or less, because there is that little bit of alcohol in it, you can't sell it to someone under the age of 21.
Just Pennsylvania? That's everywhere, I think.
Well, there's a whole section on legal drinking age in the U.S. that I didn't read.
Well, I guess here's the thing with that. There might be a written law in a state or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the law says about drinking in the U.S., the federal law, but I know some states, you're allowed to drink with your parents, right?
Yes. Last I heard in Ohio, you are allowed to drink with your parent, but the bar can still refuse to serve you.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The bar or the restaurant or the whatever has the right to refuse serving anyone under the age of 21 because there's liability and all of that. So maybe they are allowed to sell NA beers to minors, but I don't think a lot of places are going to touch that.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the other thing is too, because there was a study at Indiana University that because now non-alcoholic beer gives you some of those same cues of beer as far as the taste and the aroma, it can it's a placebo effect. It can get you, quote, drunk, even if you are not actually drunk. Because placebo, it's my pill that'll help fix everything.
I don't believe that. But I think, personally, that the law is dumb. I think if you can die for the country, you should be able to buy a beer.
And you can. What I was taught by the lawyer that came to my school when I was a senior in high school, and they were giving us a lowdown on, here are all of the ways that you can get in trouble as an adult now. Don't be stupid.
Are you giving legal advice?
I am not legal, financial, or medical advice. I am not responsible if you get arrested for doing anything that I tell you that you are allowed to do. Because I am not the lawman.
No, I'm not telling you. We're not telling you that you're allowed to do this.
So he said there were 3 different ways that you could drink if you were under the age of 21. 1, join the U.S. military. Because since you are in the military and you can die for your country, you can drink in your country. 2.
I don't think that's true.
I'm 75% sure to 90% sure that's true. 2, be married to someone over the age of 21. And because you're married to them, they are like your guardian and you can drink with them. You just have to bring a copy of your marriage certificate with you. So he said that one of his clients had a miniaturized version of his marriage certificate, or had a marriage license card, so he could go drinking with his wife. And the third one was go out with your parents, because your parents are allowed to serve you alcohol, but places can still refuse to serve you even if you meet one of those requirements. It's all up to the discretion of the place where you are. Like at your brother's wedding, your sister, who was over the age of 21, fortunately brought her ID to the reception because the reception hall ID'd her. And I was like, her parents are right there. And they're like, doesn't matter. I need to see her ID in order for her to be able to drink.
I think that lawyer was full of...
That's insane shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's true. The whole, if you're under 21 and you're in the military, you can drink. Wow, I did a search and an article from the AP and from 1985 popped up. What the hex? I think the internet is broken. Anyway, let us know. I'm not going to go searching the internet for this because we need to move on.
Yeah. I mean, I've almost finished my juicy IPA. It's a little IPA and it's a little juicy.
I have to say, so far, the Italian Pils is my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was a good one.
Followed by the American Gold.
Juicy's up pretty high for me.
I do get a little juice now that I'm drinking it more.
But yeah, because you only had a quarter of a beer.
I can't drink 3 beers that quickly.
Apparently I can when they're non-alcoholic.
What are we drinking next?
So the next beer we are drinking is a Citra Haze. Whether you're cutting consumption or just want some hoppy goodness without the alcohol, we've created a non-alcoholic version of our mainstay juicy IPA. Is this the same This is the one for Citra Haze.
Are you on their website?
I am on their website, and I clicked on Citra Haze, but the description is the one for their Juicy IPA. So, but it's got the artist. So the artist is Heather Hailstones, and she's a painter. And this one is like yellows and oranges, like kind of like clouds up in the sky, and it's got a bunch of yellow, orange, red, and green circles throughout. It's pretty cool. I'm going to see if I can find an actual description for the Citra Haze.
Well, I poured it out. It does have that fluffiness to it. It is also very hazy, golden colored. Smelling it doesn't smell like anything to me.
I mean, it kind of smells like an IPA, but like the IPA is 2 glasses over from one that you're sniffing. It's like when they say that White Claw is like it sat in a room with a lime for 2 minutes and that's as much lime flavor as it has. It's like you're smelling the IPA that's 2 seats over when you're trying to sniff this one. It's not super. I get some hops, but it's not a lot of hops. It's very faint.
I don't smell anything.
I just finished listening to our West Coast IPA show. I'm interested to hear what Julia and Marco do with it tomorrow. We are keeping those guys afloat right now.
Well, we try, you guys.
I definitely like the Juicy IPA more than this one.
So this is a Citra Haze. This is supposed to be like a hazy IPA, like an East Coast.
It's not super like it's hazy, but it's not like as hazy as I would expect a hazy IPA to be. Like it's more like in a wheat level of haze. Or I just have unrealistic haze expectations.
Tasting it, yeah, I can definitely taste the hops. That's like all I can taste though, really.
Yeah, this is, out of the 4 of these, this is probably the one that I will not enjoy. But it's still not like terrible. It's just not, I don't know, something's not quite hitting the mark.
But I can I can tell that something's off with each of these beers.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably the alcohol. We could put a shot of tequila into each of these and then see what happens.
Oh, we have blocks.
We do have blocks. But it's almost block season.
I don't even know where to get those. But yeah, this isn't horrible. I don't know that I would buy a 12-pack exclusively of this.
I mean, we did buy a 12-pack of this, so.
Exclusively of this.
Oh, yeah, of this one. Okay.
I would say that the 12-pack mix pack was worth it, and that it gave us a 1 in 4 chance of getting something that we liked.
Yeah, and like my other options were like buy 3 different 6-packs, and I would have spent more money, and we would have ended up with more beer.
Yeah, so I like that they offer the mix pack. Do you want to talk about Untitled Art and what it is? We did this briefly when we did the Higher Gravity episode. They're from... Where are they from? Waukene, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So their story from their website. Starting in 2016, we realized the beer category was stagnant. Fresh concepts and availability of innovation were hard to come by. With the industry changing, Untitled Art took up crafting art. So collaboration. We work with many artists to deliver Untitled Art. Liquid artists that brew fresh new flavors and create new innovative ways that stimulate your taste buds. Visual artists that create our alluring label artwork on the can. Photographic artists who capture the essence of our beverages. We team up with niche brewers for creative collab limited beers. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that I was seeing at the bottle shop when I was buying these non-alcoholic beers were all of their different collaborations.
So do they do their own beer? Like, do they have...
I think for the most part, like the non-alcoholic beers are their main ones that
like,
they do.
Like, do they have a tap room with equipment, or do they just go, hey, brewer over here? I guess, well, I don't know. Like, if they wanted to collab with West Side, would they bring West Side to them?
Probably, because they don't have a standalone tap room. Their brewing partner, Octopi, has a tap room at their facility in Waunakee, Wisconsin that heavily features Untitled Art products, both on tap and packaged to go. So yeah, they do not have a tap room. So they would
bring it to, what is it?
So Octopi?
So they would bring West Side there. They would probably go to West Side too.
They'd do one or the other, I guess.
Or both.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to mess with distributing.
Yeah, because that gets weird.
Yeah, that's a way around the distributing issue, especially if you're out of state.
Mm-hmm.
You brew the same beer twice.
Yeah.
And then you only have draft in the tap room. But Untitled Art doesn't have a tap room, so they would can it, I guess, at
Octopi. Or West Side. Yeah.
Yeah. So non-alcoholic beers.
I don't hate them.
The ones that I've had tonight, I do not hate. There was something about the Mexican lime, the Mexican lager that I just did not like. And part of it also, it was kind of performative.
You were being a little dramatic.
I was being a little dramatic, but it was not a good beer. I do remember that.
It wasn't terrible, but yeah, it wasn't great.
The Italian style pills, again, I haven't had a quote Italian style. I'm sure I've had dry hopped pilsners though. Mm-hmm. They just haven't been called Italian style. It was very close to what I expected it to taste like. Like if it had alcohol, like a standard 5% Italian style pills.
Yeah, and like I would say like a Pilsner or like a lighter-ish beer would be a little bit easier to play off as a non-alcoholic beer, because if you're not getting a ton of flavor out of the beer, you're kind of okay with that because that's what you're expecting of the style. But like the Citra Haze, like I would expect a lot more flavor out of this beer than what I'm getting right now, which is where the kind of the disconnect is for me. If it had a bit more flavor to it, I'd be a bit happier with it.
Yeah. I did like the American Gold as well.
Mm-hmm.
It did kind of taste like, an American light beer.
Yeah.
Like you would like a big beer. And that's kind of, like I said, I think if we switcherooed my mom's Coors Light or whatever.
She might not notice.
She may not. So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of scary. Like I said, what's real is not real and what's real is real.
I mean, these things have been around for forever. It's just now we're not doing it because the water's terrible. We're doing it because we can.
I don't think they ever tasted good, though.
Probably not.
Not like this.
Mm-mm.
So there's that. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Untitled Art or non-alcoholic beers?
No, I think we covered all of it. And yeah, they were pretty tasty.
That's about does it then. Well, that does it for this week's show. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can follow us at Craft Parenting Podcast on all those platforms. You can also get a hold of us via email, which is craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com.
If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show. It's what helps our show grow.
And all this information is available on our website, which is www.craftparentingpodcast.com.
That's where you can find all the show notes, plus some extra stuff. Sometimes.
And I am at Craft Parenting Joe on Instagram.
And I am at Caroline Creates Crafts.
And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Bye.